through life as if time were merciful, as if people will forgive your mistakes, as if the world will allow you to stumble, retreat, and recover at your leisure. That illusion is already costing you. You've lost battles without knowing they were fought. You've surrendered ground without realizing it was invaded. Every delay has been marked by others as weakness, and every moment you wait, they sharpen their knives. You think enemies announce themselves. You think conflict is obvious. That fantasy is what blinds you. Your rivals do not walk into your camp waving banners of war. They wait in the shadows. They whisper doubts into rooms where your name is spoken. They gather intelligence on your blind spots. By the time you notice, your reputation is already bleeding out. You are already flanked. You are already losing. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this with merciless clarity. He knew that most people live under the spell of appearances, distracted by peace, comfort, and illusions of harmony. He knew that behind every handshake, there is calculation. Behind every smile, there is ambition. And behind every delay, there is decay. Patience, he taught, is not passive. Patience is the cold law of outlasting, the one who waits with discipline, with calculation, with endurance, survives every storm. The one who confuses patience with weakness is consumed by predators. You confuse patience with waiting for luck. That is your flaw. You imagine that by enduring silently, by doing nothing, the tide will turn in your favor. It will not. The tide only crushes the one who stands still. Patience is not the absence of movement. Patience is the deliberate arrangement of your forces, the hidden positioning of your artillery, the steady fortification of your defenses while the enemy grows restless. The true strategist knows that every day must be used. Nothing is wasted. To you, waiting is weakness. To Machiavelli, waiting is strategy. You have been conditioned to expect instant victory or immediate collapse. That conditioning has broken your discipline. You are soft, restless, addicted to speed. You abandon campaigns too early. You expose your flank because you cannot endure tension. You demand comfort before conquest. That is why you have been outmaneuvered. The battlefield is not kind to the impatient. It crushes them. It feeds them to those who grind with calculation. Understand this. Weakness is not written in your strength or lack of strength. Weakness is written in your inability to hold your line. You give ground the moment pressure builds. You want relief. You want escape. Your enemy wants you to want this. They do not need to strike. They only need to wait for your collapse. The supply lines of your mind are short. The discipline of your soul is shallow. And that is why you break. You pretend you are waiting for the right time. But in truth, you are waiting to be saved. You hope someone else will move first. You hope circumstances will soften. You hope enemies will retreat. They will not. They are patient. They are wolves at the edge of your camp, circling in silence, testing the perimeter. They wait for fatigue to strip you of vigilance. They wait for complacency to open your gates. They wait for you to surrender without a fight, and you are giving them exactly what they want. The cold law of patience is merciless. Outlast every enemy you face, or you will be outlasted. Every war in history has proven this. It is not the first strike that guarantees victory, but the ability to keep striking after others collapse. The weak exhaust themselves in the opening charge. The strong prepare for a campaign that never ends. If you cannot stomach the long war, you will never rule anything. Why are you blind to this? Because you were trained by comfort, conditioned by culture, poisoned by the lie that life will reward you simply for existing. You were raised to believe that effort alone deserves victory, that good intentions protect you, that time will bend to your needs. None of this is true. Time bends only to those who use it like a weapon. Patience without strategy is slavery. Patience with strategy is domination. Look at your history. Count the times you surrendered because you could not endure discomfort. Count the times you quit because results did not arrive on your schedule. That is the story of your defeat. You abandoned campaigns that could have been won if only you endured. You let hunger dictate your choices. You let restlessness tear down your resolve. And now you wonder why you feel surrounded. You were not defeated by your enemies. You were defeated by your own lack of patience. This is the price of naivete, humiliation, exploitation, irrelevance. When you wait passively, others march. When you hesitate, others advance. When you dream of peace, others draw maps of conquest with your land in their borders. And when you finally wake up, the battlefield is already lost. You are a casualty of your own illusions. You must reframe patience as a weapon. Discipline is your supply chain. Silence is your reconnaissance. Restraint is your camouflage. You do not rush to expose your hand. You do not reveal your strength until the enemy has weakened themselves. The general who acts too soon is baited into ambush. The general who endures draws the enemy into exhaustion. Machiavellian patience is not idle. It is the cold tightening of the noose around every rival, inch by inch, until they choke. You have been weak because you could not tolerate boredom. You could not tolerate silence. You could not tolerate delay. But power is built in delay. Strategy matures in silence. Victory is prepared in boredom. The ones who collapse in stillness never reach the decisive moment. The ones who can wait, endure, and sharpen their blade in silence are the ones who strike with fatal precision. Do not mistake this for morality. This is not about fairness. This is about survival. Morality is irrelevant on the battlefield of life. The only law that matters is endurance. Can you hold your line longer than those who seek your downfall? Can you stand under pressure until their resources burn out? Can you refuse to collapse until they collapse first? If not, you will be erased. Machiavelli's cold law of patience is clear. The crown does not belong to the one who moves first. The crown belongs to the one who remains when all others have fallen. Outlast, and you win. Collapse, and you are nothing. You tell yourself, enemies are temporary. That opposition will fade. That circumstances will soften if you simply endure long enough. But that is a lie you whisper to avoid responsibility. Your enemies do not disappear. They multiply. They regroup. They adapt. The moment you relax, they re-emerge with sharper teeth. Survival is not about waiting for storms to pass. Survival is about becoming the storm that never ends. You do not understand the war you are in because you are still clinging to illusions of peace. You believe there is neutrality. You believe people wish you well without calculation. This is the blindness that cripples you. In truth, every interaction is a negotiation of power. Every relationship is a battlefield disguised as alliance. Every silence is a reconnaissance mission. And every smile hides either loyalty or betrayal. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you begin to see the board as it is. Niccolò Machiavelli knew that most people destroy themselves by believing life is governed by fairness. He understood that to endure, one must see beyond morality and sentiment. To outlast, you must see life as a campaign of endurance where only strategy preserves you. You are not losing because you lack talent. You are losing because you lack vision. You cannot see the war because you are blinded by hope. And hope is poison when it delays your preparation. You think your weakness is invisible. It is not. Your enemy sees it clearly. They see your lack of endurance. They see your hunger for comfort. They see your fragile spirit. They mark you as prey. and they know they can wait until you collapse without effort. They need not strike first. They need only to hold their line longer than you can. That is how you are conquered without battle. Consider how armies win wars of attrition. Not with speed, not with glory, not with theatrics. They win by bleeding the enemy over time. They cut supply lines. They force the opponent into starvation, fatigue, and despair. They grind them down until their will shatters. This is the law of patience. Victory is not the final strike. It is the ability to stand unbroken while others erode into dust. Now ask yourself, how long can you stand? How long can you endure silence? How long can you resist the hunger for immediate victory? This is the true test. Most cannot last days. Some cannot last hours. You must last years. That is what power demands. That is what strategy requires. To outlast every enemy, you must rewire your perception of time itself. You want instant reward because you are addicted to gratification. You crave recognition because you fear obscurity. You rush forward because you are terrified of being forgotten. This is your weakness. Your enemy knows this. They bait you with quick victories. They lure you into traps with appearances of opportunity. You take the bait every time because you cannot endure the waiting. And when you fall, you call it fate. But it was not fate. It was your impatience. Patience is not passive. It is the discipline of positioning. It is the refusal to waste energy on battles that do not matter. It is the cold calculation of where to strike and when. You must learn to see time as a battlefield. Each day, another move in a long campaign. Do not rush the siege. Build the walls. Fortify the gates. Cut the enemy's supply lines slowly. Let them burn their own reserves in desperation. When they are weak, then you strike. That is Machiavellian patience. You still dream of easy conquests. You still want the path of least resistance. But power is not given to the impatient. Power is seized by the one who can endure beyond all others. The battlefield is littered with the bones of those who rushed. The empire belongs to the one who did not collapse when the siege dragged on. Do you understand? The greatest victories are not sudden. They are the result of relentless, disciplined waiting. Machiavelli once observed that men ruin themselves by trying to be loved more than feared. You ruin yourself by trying to be satisfied more than patient. You cannot afford satisfaction. You cannot afford ease. Every indulgence is a fracture in your armor. Every moment of weakness is a breach in your defense. The enemy is watching. They are mapping your weaknesses. And they are patient. They will wait for years if necessary. Will you? This is the law. Endurance is more terrifying than aggression. When you refuse to collapse, you become ungovernable. When you outlast, you force your enemies to exhaust themselves against your silence. That is how thrones are seized. Not in the heat of passion, but in the cold of persistence. Not in the rush of impulse, but in the unyielding march of discipline. You fear boredom. You fear obscurity. But you must learn to wield both. Let boredom be your training ground. Let obscurity be your camouflage. While your enemies exhaust themselves in the light, you sharpen your blade in the dark. When they are drained, you will strike with precision. They will call it sudden. It will not be sudden. It will be the inevitable reward of your endurance. Do not confuse patience with kindness. Do not confuse endurance with passivity. Machiavellian patience is merciless. It is the art of outlasting, outmaneuvering, outsuffering every rival. It is the psychological warfare of silence. It is the cold stare that unnerves the restless. It is the refusal to break no matter how long the war drags on. If you continue in your weakness, the cost will be total. You will live as prey. You will be surrounded, outflanked, consumed. You will beg for mercy where none exists. And when you fall, you will have only yourself to blame. Because you knew the law, you ignored it, and the law crushed you. The choice is here. Learn patience as a weapon, or remain weak. Train your mind as if it were a fortress. Stretch your endurance until time itself bends before you. Refuse to collapse. No matter the hunger, no matter the silence, no matter the pressure, your enemies are already waiting for your surrender. Do not give them the satisfaction. Make them starve. Make them break. Outlast every enemy you face. You have mistaken survival for comfort. That mistake has weakened you more than any enemy could. Survival is not peace. Survival is war without end. You are alive today because those before you endured starvation, betrayal, and blood. They held their ground when surrender meant extinction. They were not soft. They were not distracted. They were not lulled into believing time would forgive them. They were patient because patience was the only weapon sharper than the sword. You think modern life has spared you from this law. It has not. The battlefield simply changed terrain. You are still surrounded by rivals. They still measure your weakness. They still wait for you to collapse. The war now is psychological. It is fought in silence, in shadows, in whispers. Every delay, every moment of hesitation, every act of indulgence marks you as prey. You cannot escape this truth. You can only decide whether to arm yourself with patience or die without resistance. Niccolò Machiavelli saw clearly that time itself is the ultimate weapon. Those who know how to stretch it, bend it, endure it, rule over those who cannot. He taught that rulers do not need to win every battle. They only need to survive until their enemies break themselves. This is the cold law. You do not need to be the strongest. You only need to be the last one standing. That is the crown. That is empire. Your greatest weakness is your hunger for relief. You confuse victory with comfort. You want escape before endurance. You chase distractions to dull your pain. That makes you soft. The world sees it. Your rivals exploit it. They know that if they can outwait you, they can own you. They know your breaking point arrives long before theirs. And so, they sit back and watch you erode. You collapse without them lifting a finger. Patience is not stillness. Patience is an offensive maneuver, disguised as silence. Every day you endure. You sap your enemy's will. Every day you refuse collapse. You drain their reserves. The art is subtle. You must train yourself to see time as a blade. Each second cuts them. Each hour weakens their resolve. Each year strips them bare. You do not rush. You bleed them slowly. That is how wars are truly won. But you do not bleed your enemies because you cannot even control your own hunger. You break formation. You expose your flank. You hand them victory. This is the truth you refuse to face. You sabotage yourself. You are not conquered by others. You are conquered by your own impatience. You flee the battlefield before the real fight begins. You were trained to believe that waiting is passive, that to endure is weakness. That lie is why you are powerless. Waiting without purpose is decay, but waiting with strategy is domination. Machiavellian patience is the art of restraining yourself until the enemy destroys themselves. It is the strength to let them attack first, to let them waste their resources, to let them burn out their fury while you remain cold. Calculating and prepared. Consider the fortress under siege. The enemy hurls themselves at the walls with fury. Days pass. Supplies dwindle. The attackers grow restless. Their morale breaks. Meanwhile, the fortress holds. The defenders endure. And when the enemy is weakest, the gates open, and the final strike begins. That is the law of patience. You are the fortress, but you behave like the foolish attacker, wasting your strength in desperation, collapsing long before the walls even crack. This is why you remain small. This is why you are ignored. This is why you are dominated. You cannot endure the siege. You cannot withstand the silence. You cannot stretch your will across years. And so, every rival who can hold longer owns you. You hand them your throne because you cannot suffer. Understand the battlefield for what it is, not a contest of speed, but of endurance. Every general knows this. The impatient general dies in glory. The patient general rules in silence. You are still chasing glory. You are still trying to impress the crowd. That is why you will be forgotten. You must break this weakness. You must sever the chain of your conditioning. You must train yourself in the discipline of the long war. How? By rejecting the addiction to immediacy, by embracing the boredom of repetition, by enduring silence without collapse, by learning to stretch your will across years instead of days. This is not optional. This is survival. Niccolò Machiavelli warned that fortune bends to those who can endure her storms. He understood that fate itself is conquered not by those who move first, but by those who never stop moving until fortune itself bends under their endurance. You cannot control time, but you can control yourself. You can weaponize your endurance. You can transform patience into the most terrifying weapon your enemies will ever face. Do not misunderstand. This path is brutal. It demands that you bleed in silence. It demands that you starve without flinching. It demands that you withstand isolation without breaking. But if you can endure this, you will command the battlefield. Others will collapse. Others will surrender. Others will fall into dust while you remain. And then, when all rivals are gone, the throne will be empty, and you will be the only one strong enough to claim it. This is the cost of power. To outlast every enemy you face, you must crucify your impatience. You must cut off your hunger for comfort. You must destroy your illusions of quick victory. You must become unbreakable, immovable, merciless in endurance. Then, and only then, will you begin to rule. You still believe you can win without sacrifice. That belief is the softest chain around your throat. Every enemy who has ever ruled knew the truth. Power is purchased through suffering, not the loud suffering of victims, but the silent suffering of endurance. The crown belongs to the one who does not collapse when the war drags on. Your rivals count on your collapse. They set traps, not with sudden strikes, but with long campaigns. They drag you into fatigue. They stretch the battle past your limits. They feed on your desperation. They do not need to destroy you directly. They only need to force you to destroy yourself. And you oblige them. You quit. You break formation. You scatter your forces because you cannot endure. You must reforge yourself. You must build endurance until it terrifies those who watch you. You must become the kind of adversary who refuses to break. No matter the siege, no matter the attrition, no matter the years. Machiavellian patience is not softness, it is iron discipline. It is the art of wearing your enemies down without moving a single step. It is the refusal to hand them victory by collapse. Imagine yourself as a fortress. Every enemy will come to test your walls. They will send spies. They will test your gates. They will shout insults from the field to provoke you. They want you to abandon your walls and rush into the open where you are weak. Do not. You must remain inside your fortress of discipline. You must let them grow restless, waste their strength, fight among themselves. That is the law of endurance. Your silence is their exhaustion, but patience without strategy is decay. You must not merely wait, you must build. Every day is a chance to sharpen your weapons, to train your soldiers, to stock your armories. to fortify your walls. This is not idle endurance. This is active preparation. By the time the enemy collapses, you must be ready to strike with precision. The fortress that waits without building is eventually breached. The fortress that waits while preparing is invincible. Niccolò Machiavelli saw rulers fall because they confused patience with delay. Delay is weakness. Patience is strategy. Delay wastes time. Patience uses time. You must learn this distinction. Every day you waste in weakness is another stone removed from your fortress. Every day you invest in discipline is another wall your enemy cannot scale. The battlefield is not kind. There is no fairness here. Mercy is not offered. Survival belongs to the one who can withstand the longest campaign. Your illusions will not protect you. Your feelings will not shield you. The only shield is endurance. The only sword is strategy. Without these, you are already conquered. Look at yourself clearly. How many campaigns have you abandoned? How many opportunities have you lost because you could not wait? How many enemies have defeated you not because they were stronger, but because they endured longer? Count them. Face the truth. This is why you have remained small. Not because you lacked power, but because you lacked patience. You can change, but not with comfort, not with hope, not with gentle words. Change begins with war inside yourself. You must kill the part of you that demands quick victory. You must execute the weakness that craves escape. You must annihilate the illusions that blind you. Only then can you build the discipline required to endure. This will not be easy. It will not be glamorous. It will not be celebrated. You will train in silence while others mock you. You will endure obscurity while others shine briefly in the spotlight. You will hold your ground while others run ahead and burn out. And when they collapse, when they scatter, when they vanish into dust, you will remain. And then, you will claim what they abandoned. That is the throne of endurance. Machiavelli's cold law of patience leaves you no middle ground. Either you learn to outlast every enemy you face, or you remain prey for the rest of your life. The battlefield will not bend for you. Your enemies will not pity you. Time will not rescue you. You must rescue yourself through iron patience, ruthless discipline, and unbreakable resolve. So choose. Continue in weakness, and watch yourself erode into nothing, or sharpen your will, fortify your mind, and endure until all others collapse. You are at war, whether you admit it or not. The only question is whether you will be the fortress that stands or the ruin that feeds your enemy's triumph. Outlast them. Outlast every rival. Outlast every betrayer. Outlast every enemy you face. And when they are gone, when the battlefield is silent, when the throne is empty, you will be the only one left to take it. That is the law. That is Machiavelli's cold truth. That is the choice before you now.